Hello everybody, welcome back to the Amazon European Masters. We're coming off the back of a massive win for Ego Rogue over their opposition, and we're actually going to be speaking to the marksman for Ego Rogue, FLICKR, as he's going to join us here for a couple of questions after a very, very interesting matchup where both teams seem to be going for completely different things. FLICKR, massive congratulations on the huge win. First things first, talk me through the idea behind the composition that you guys put together.
Thank you. So the composition was like kind of on the spot. They picked Jinx. That was a bit surprising. We were like expecting MF pick or something like that. But we just like decided to go a high range poke, comp against Jinx Veigar, so they can't really play fights and it's hard for them to set up on objectives. So yeah, we decided to go for a high range poke, and it was pretty easy to play against them.
Yeah, and I think you could really see it started to come to fruition after like 20 minutes. They didn't really force anything onto you, and then you guys hit your IM spikes. They had no real way to play the game if they weren't trying to constantly hard force. I want to ask you about your standing now inside of the group. 3-1, the only Ultra Liga representative still in the tournament. Now that you've got that 2-game buffer between yourselves and Eintracht Spandau, and actually the rest of the group is all Red Star too, how are you guys feeling? Like, what's the mood in the camp? And then also, how do you feel, for prospects? Hopefully moving forward, you still need to win one more game to confirm your quarterfinal spot. But how's the mood in the camp moving forward for the Ultra Liga and of course a Go Rogue?
We're feeling very happy. We're pretty comfortable with 3-1 for now. We're expecting a pretty easy win against the Red Star team. The Vitality.Bee is a pretty good team, so it won't be that easy, but we can still probably win against them if we play our game. Last time we just lost because of us, not really because of them. So I think we can end the group with 5-1 if we play our own game.
That's great to hear. A lot of confidence. Well, luckily, we won't take up more of your time, so you can go prepare for your next 2 games. So massive congratulations on the win and good luck in your last couple of matches.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It was great to hear from FLICKR and chatting about how he reckons the team's going to go 5-1. He says, look, Vitality.Bee, they weren't that special. We were just a little bit off our game. So that's going to be a very, very exciting matchup coming towards the end of the day. But let's have a look back at that last game. Eintracht Spandau falling to Ego Rogue. And Jamada, the early stages were all about Spandau until the games just kind of stopped happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was, again, it's about that sort of post-15, pre-20 minute stage of the game where there's just not too much on the map to consistently fight over, especially if there's no dragon, which was the case. And yeah, it was kind of, I mean, even from, I suppose, as early as here, even though you could see a Go Rogue kind of losing out, you think, okay, Eintracht Spandau, they're kind of losing out on the tempo, losing out on the skirmishes. Maybe they can continue this, sort of, I wouldn't say onslaught, but momentum, keep that ball rolling. But it was moments like these are the big moments where Eintracht Spandau, they start Baron because they have all the pressure, they feel like they can, but the fights were just too disjointed, right? There was no true front to back. What we were expecting was Pride using the Call of the Forge God to start up the fight and then Prime following up on that engage. It was never really the case. There was too much of a disconnection between, the 2 engage champions on Eintracht Spandau. And like we kind of highlighted briefly in the interview too, a Go Rogue didn't really have to do anything. Like FLICKR said, word for word, for hit verbatim, we just had to wait for our comp to come online and then we would outrange them with our comp against the Veigar and the Jinx.
And that's exactly what we saw happen. And this was the second Baron, the oh no, we did it again situation where, in theory, the Eintracht Spandau team is quite happy fighting at choke points, but they're all half health by the time this one kicked off, and then Knight just cleans up shop.
Yeah, we will dub this the Baron incident of Group A, and we will talk about the post-game breakdown, because, I mean, you can kind of see, right, the gold graph. Eintracht Spandau, they had a pretty sizable lead, if you call it, by sort of 15 minutes, right? 2,500 gold, not a bad place to be, but then, again, the gold just slowly slips back towards a Go Rogue because nothing's really happening on the map for Eintracht Spandau. They're not forcing anywhere on the map, and a Go Rogue are just picking up resources and they're getting towards the items. And then as soon as they were online, Eintracht Spandau were never able to use the very limited engage tools they had to get on top of this poke comp, and the poke was too much to deal with.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still not fully convinced by the Kazakhs in this roster, but it certainly did more than the Zinzao did that game.
Yeah, and I mean, that's all you really have to do is more than the opponent in this kind of game from Rebel's perspective. But we'll see whether or not we get any more Kazakhs. But very exciting game, and that puts Eintracht Spandau in a very detrimental position to be in moving forward for the rest of the day, and a Go Rogue sitting kind of comfortably now.
Well, let's move forward to the rest of the day. We got our second matchup here. We got Crvena Zvezda up against Vitality.Bee. Vitality.Bee undefeated as we move into our second day of this group. let's have a quick look at who's going to be representing on these two rosters. Of course, we're going to be starting up with Crvena Zvezda, otherwise known as Red Star. Wondro, Colamax subbing in for our second day of games. Tsiperakos, Golden Toast, and TasteLess rounding out the composition.
Yeah, and I will say the last time these two teams met, of course, the Vitality.Bee lineup, Szygenda, Skeanz, Diplex, Jeskla, Jactroll. It was pretty one-sided in most areas. I think the only place really that Red Star were able to play through is kind of the bottom lane match that they have for themselves, because it was a pretty heavy kill lane. It was Misfortune, Nautilus into something like Ezreal. I want to say the support was Karma. So they had, a lot of leverage to work with down there. But beyond that, it just felt like Vitality.Bee were the stronger team. They had the dragon stacking. They weren't really able to contest the objectives beyond that. And if we get a repeat of that, I feel like Vitality.Bee will kind of just wipe this game fairly easy. But for Red Star, again, you have to remember, this is effectively the start of their potential comeback. If they are to make it to the quarterfinals, they have to beat the undefeated team as the team with no wins inside of their group. It's a mountain to climb. We'll see if they can do it. They open out with the Akali ban into Vitality.Bee, and the LeBlanc will be taken away from Tsiperakos.
Now, Jamal, while these bans come through, I've got some devastating news for you.
Yes.
I had a look during the break, and we can no longer have a four-way tie in this group.
What a shame.
So I don't know if there's much reason to continue watching at this stage, but we're going to anyway. Obviously, there is. We're joking. The playoffs are a huge one, and two of these teams will be going through. Zeri and Volleyball also going to be taken off the table. It should be worth noting that Colamax is also coaching Crvena Zvezda in this one, coming into the jungle here. Be interested to see if their fortunes change with this switch up in personnel.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a curious time to stay right in between the rounds in the tournament. Obviously, something might not have been going right in terms of how they felt like they were playing the game. Colamax steps in into the jungle role for double aim. We'll see what kind of differences could occur on the Rift. Ari will meet the bench as well. So a lot of mid-jungle focus here. That Akali also bleeds into the top side for Szygenda. The Jarvan will be taken away as well. So now, you have the likes of the Jinx if you really want it. You have a couple of the AD junglers still there too. I think the choice is really Red Stars. They could even go for something like a Misfortune first pick. I think Misfortune has been performing pretty well inside of the games, even if the results haven't necessarily always been going consistently the Misfortune's way. See what they want to do, because the last time around they did run a pretty heavy kill bot lane.
They're going to go towards that Jinx instead. So grabbing that hyper carry rather than the Misfortune. It does give the opportunity for Vitality.Bee to respond in kind. The Aphelios is also available if we want to pretend that we're still playing on last patch rather than this one. But Vitality.Bee just giving a little bit of love to Katarina before deciding what they're actually going to prioritize.
Okay, Varus lock-in. That's something we don't often get to see, but honestly, Varus, pretty good matchup into a fair amount of the meta AD carries at the moment. I think also the same thing for Ashe, but we don't see her prop up too frequently. But Skeanz will get his hands on his coveted Lee Sin as well in the same rotation. So a lot of setup through the AD carry role right now, through the Chains of Corruption. Of course, the Lee Sin can capitalize on that once they hit level 6 respectively. Red Star, though, what will they go for now for Colamax? Hovering the Udyr and immediately lock that one in. So, of course, Udyr, we've seen him kind of rear his head a couple of times now here at the Amazon European Masters. And mostly because, he's still got that same level of clear speed. He's still a pretty big nuisance, right? He still runs around and kind of smacks everybody and keeps them still. And he's also going to be sped up by a Karma now, which is definitely going to feel a little bit obnoxious. So if Vitality.Bee can find the way in their next rotation to try and shut some of that down, it will definitely go a long way in ensuring that they can scale into this game quite well, because already they are looking at, Jinx Karma scaling. Udyr scales pretty well depending on the team composition as well. And looking into Lee Sin sort of one-to-one, of course, Lee Sin's scaling is kind of based on the amount of use you can get out of the utility inside of his kit. Something like Nautilus does a very good job at shutting down some of that hypermobility. Of course, will give Vitality.Bee another angle of engage, and now I expect probably it bans towards the Red Star mid laner's champion pool.
Well, we're going to see if those go through. Second round rotation. Top layers haven't been locked in from either side either, so you could be looking to take away stuff like the Gangplank, which is going to be taken away from Wondro. And there's a lot of availability. Stuff like the Gnar we've seen a lot of priority on might also be worth having a consideration about getting rid of.
Yeah, I mean, Gnar, definitely something that you could take away from Szygenda, but I feel like you go towards the carries. We've seen him have a very monstrous Gwen game already. Something like Camille could also work. And then when you are banning away those champions, setting up for the likes of, a Jace R5 as well for Szygenda. So maybe that's something that Wondro and Red Star will have to consider. As Vitality.Bee, will they just go for another top lane ban? Because I was expecting what we would see is Szygenda gets his R5 pick. But now with 2 bans out of 4 going towards the top side maybe considers otherwise, as Corki will be removed away as well, so not trying to give that sort of double scaling aspect over to the Red Star lineup. And I think it definitely makes a whole bunch of sense. There goes Szygenda's Camille, not too surprised. So stuff like the Nard does rise in priority quite heavily. Camille as well. We'll see what Vitality.Bee want to go for here, whether or not they want to take their mid laner or their top laner, or if they even have the flex as well. Could work out quite nice for them. With the Varus, depending on what Varus wants to do, Jace could slot in, of course, as both poke and kind of just sort of consistent damage anyway. Hovering on that Vex, and we all get that. So fair amount of dive, fair amount of sort of anti sort of dive themselves as well. Vitality.Bee's composition pretty variable at the moment, what they can actually do as a composition.
And we've seen Diplex playing the Vex already this tournament, had a very strong performance on it. So excited to see if he can rekindle the level of gameplay that he was shown last time. It's not going to be brand rekindling anything. The Orianna is the immediate response, and now it's up to Crvena Zvezda. What is going into Wondro's hands? What's going up towards that top side?
Yeah, I mean, Orianna in the mid lane, just more utility to sort of stack on top of that. Of course, a lot of damage will come out eventually once you sort of hit that 2-item mark. But I wonder if it's a little bit too passive. But when you're playing into a team like Vitality.Bee, you kind of understand it, right? You might just want to try and weather the storm, get to a scaling point, and then say, okay, we're comfortable to fight. But I just feel like Vitality.Bee have been such a force to be reckoned with in the early game. And right now they have so many strong tools and lane priority. I'm expecting in the mid lane, in the bottom side, it could be a different story, but of course can always be altered by a visit from the jungle. And Szygenda, no reason really not to go towards the Jace, in my opinion, in a composition like this. Very limited engage on the opposite side for Red Star. The matchup can be a little bit frustrating on that side, and that's actually why he's gonna move over to the Aatrox instead. And it's just gonna lean into this more forward-moving composition here from Vitality.Bee. I don't mind it all. I think it's gonna definitely struggle to maybe get on top of things like, you know, Jinx with Karma Shields and maybe the Orianna too, but in the top side in isolation in that 2v2 as well, Szygenda is gonna be having an absolutely wonderful time.
For me, I'm gonna question one thing that you said there. And it's rare that I do this because you are usually right, but saying that there's not that much engage coming through from Crvena Zvezda, I don't know if you appreciate how fast this Udyr is going to be. How truly speedy. And more than that even, the Jinx, if she gets a kill, a Karma Shield and the speed up from Orianna, she's also going to be very speedy.
That is kind of true. I mean, I feel like the issue is, though, if you're walking into, you know, Vex personal space, Lee Sin kick, running into Aatrox is typically not that much of a great idea unless you know you can execute him. Even Varus Chains of Corruption, it can be kind of hard to dodge. On the inverse, typically you think you're moving faster, you can dodge a skill shot. If you're running towards him at 700 movement speed, you might not be thinking to even be able to dodge out on that skill shot. But I do definitely agree. There are definitely options for engage, but I feel like the Red Star, I'm just going to keep calling it Red Star. I'm too English at heart to try and pronounce it. they're going to struggle to try and get on top of Vitality.Bee. And I think, again, Vitality.Bee, slightly more flexible composition, right? I think they can play backwards if they really want to. They can play forwards because they've got so many diving tools. I'm looking at Colamax, honestly, on the Udyr, and I'm saying, what can you get done with the lane setup that you have? You have a pretty favorable jungle matchup, in my opinion. I think Udyr can definitely look to try and out-skirmish in the early stages, try and outpace, and maybe try and turn that sort of CS XP lead 1-to-1 into neutral objectives. But if you just don't have the lane priority, that's going to be difficult to do, and I don't really expect they will besides the bottom lane. So Red Star, a lot to think about coming into this game. And of course, kind of last chance saloon, right? You lose this game, chances are you're just not going to make it. It's going to be too hard. In fact, I think losing this game would just outright mean they do not make it. Of course, Rogue have 3 wins, so it is a must win for Red Star to remain in the tournament.
You are absolutely correct. If Red Star lose this game, Crvena Zvezda do not secure themselves the victory, then they will go home from the group stages. Vitality.Bee, of course, undefeated, will want to remain so. And a victory here, I'm fairly certain, would secure them. In fact, I don't need to be fairly certain. I am certain a victory here would secure themselves top 2 at least. So quarterfinal berth for the LFL side. But minions are about to crash. We've got these 2 junglers starting up on the top side. What are we going to see potentially from Skeanz on the Lee side? We've given a little bit of time to the Udyr. Let's have a look towards the Lee as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think just, you know, set up in all 3 lanes, right? The world is kind of Skeanz' oyster here. I'd expect, though, trying to play with Jactroll on that Nautilus, right? Nautilus, hard TC with all of the burst damage of Lee Sin. It's a bit of a dream pairing, so I expect Skeanz will heavily play towards the bottom side. He can play into Szygenda on this Aatrox as well. It's a very favorable matchup because you can kind of interrupt the decimating smash of the Sion, basically, or every other cast. And once you sort of get to level 7, then the cooldown on your Darkened Blade is low enough to pretty much do it consistently. A lot of nice trade damage coming out from Diplex there. We'll lose out on the early lane in terms of priority, but eventually we'll start to gain a little more control. Jeskla needs a pretty nasty chunk, and this is, again, the only lane where I expect Red Star will have priority. And if they can build on this consistent priority that they should have, then maybe they can turn it into a bit of a dragon stack. Maybe try and put a little bit of pressure on Vitality.Bee. Otherwise, they are going to be waiting around for a very long time for their Jinx and for their Orianna to hit those item spikes.
This game also takes on additional importance. I've just received communication. I've double-checked, triple-checked myself. If Vitality.Bee win this game, then the group is decided in terms of who goes out in quarterfinals. Because of the head-to-head that Eintracht Spandau and Ego Rogue currently have, the 2-0 for Rogue, means that they will not be able to qualify with a 3-3 scoreline.
Oh, of course,
if that is equaled. So Vitality.Bee are currently playing for not only the LFL, but the Ultraliga and Crvena Zvezda. If you're a Prime League fan, you're going to have to learn some pronunciation, because these guys are your hope for getting through into the playoff berth. Alongside Unicorns Plus Sexy Edition, of course, we've already made it out, but TasteLess going to be called out by the Anger. A lot of damage coming through from Jeskla. Colamax is there, but doesn't need to show his face. He's actually considering going for a flank.
So I think the thought process there, TasteLess could have tethered Jactroll in, but I don't think he actually has it skilled yet. Level 2 probably has the shield and the Q, so wasn't able to return that. But I think even if they go for that play, the only issue with Skeanz is already there. Wondro going to eat a pretty meaty trade. He saw the sweet spots, not able to really trade back onto Szygenda. Szygenda in that Aatrox matchup going to be just fine, and Colamax will make his way back up to the top side. Will secure a Skull Crab, but he's going to be on vision whilst he does it. That could give Vitality.Bee a bit of a window to look for something on the bottom side if the wave state allows it. Really looking for something aggro, actually. Golden Toast.
Ooh, almost called out by a couple of skill shots, but both of them going to go wide in the end. Skeanz unable to make the play happen down here, but Jactroll is still hanging around thinking about trying to catch someone out if they go for the reset. Won't be able to do so. Jactroll going to look to clear away the vision, but TasteLess is going to just chase him away.
Yeah, TasteLess will chase him away. Keep that ward alive in the tri-bush. And I think Vitality.Bee doing a pretty good job of just, showing face in the bottom side and trying to shut down, one of the key consistent parts of pressure that Red Star could have had. Going for them, of course, Red Star on a reset can definitely look to wrestle control back of the wave state and the lane state. But for now, is Vitality.Bee do have control of that side of the map. Now, Colamax has gone back for a reset, and I wonder if he's going to be keeping his eye on the bottom lane and the state of it in general, just because, again, I feel like trying to get early dragon stacking is one of the few sort of ways to not have so much pressure on trying to stay inside of this game. Because if you've got a scaling composition and you're working against the clock of potentially an early Dragon Soul, the pressure sink of it alone could kind of just make them make poor decisions. TasteLess
takes a bit of damage, but he should be okay.
There you go. Colamax does show face in the bottom side, so I think now after that trade, he should read that Vitality.Bee are going to go back. He's actually going to even go and try and harass the bottom lane backwards, and he could start the dragon. He is a little bit low on mana. Doesn't have first move from the mid lane though. That's the only issue, and Diplex actually has level 6 already. Could be a bit of an issue, but with the fact that Jeskla and Jactroll have to go back to base, I think it's a true numbers advantage for Red Star, and they will pick this one up uncontested. This dragon could go a long way, especially if they pick up the next one as well, to getting at least on the road towards a potential soul, assuming Vitality.Bee don't try and contest the next couple of dragons, which with a composition like that spikes so heavily on one items across the board, they'll be looking to do so.
And when they've hit those one item spikes, they're going to need to look to accelerate, because we saw last game what happens if a team that has an advantage doesn't manage to make anything of it, because the game could just be slowed down, if a game can be stagnated, and suddenly ease of execution goes out the window, and it's all about the couple of team fights. And if you've got players from either side who are going to be able to step up and not solo carry the game, but put in game team, lost the word. Fight-winning performances. There we go. I'm a professional, by the way. They can look to turn the tide. So for Crvena Zvezda, you've got to feel a little bit worried about how these later stages are gonna, or these mid stages are gonna go if they can't get some work done. And currently things have been very, very quiet.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue, right? Because they don't really spike until sort of 2 items, whereas Vitality.Bee, for the most part, effectively spike quite heavily on 1. That big window of, you know, sort of 5 to 10 minutes where Vitality.Bee are just going to have all of the agency in the world because of their champions is definitely a bit of a worrying trend, especially when the game state stays very even like this, where, again, Crvena Zvezda, they're not really pressuring anywhere. So they don't really have the means to do so. Vitality.Bee can kind of just slowly walk this one towards 1 item and then start to be as aggressive as they might feel like on the map. Because, again, I look towards Red Star's draft and who's really dealing damage in the earlier stages for the first 15, 20 minutes of the game. It's pretty much working off base numbers alone. It's going to be difficult.
It is a concern. Will they be able to weather the storm, and will Vitality.Bee be able to put on the performances that they need to in order to give the advantage enough oomph to secure themselves to win? That's what we're watching the League Legends game to find out, as Colamax will be looking to start with Rift Herald. They did secure themselves the first dragon, as we've already mentioned, and the Cloud will be the second, which means we'll have a new soul this time around. Always great to see a little bit of variety in our matchups throughout the day, as Szygenda gonna just hang around, looking towards Colamax, trying to get some damage down on to the Udyr. So Tsiperakos going to give him a shield. Szygenda pops the World Ender and looks to fly forward. Diplex on the side has ultimate available. The high falls down as we're going to see Vex diving on through, looking to break up the fight. A lot of damage coming down to Wondro. He's been countered, but Szygenda who has to flash away. Jactroll is there as Sion goes over the wall, taken down for first blood as he tries to dash away. Diplex turns on the style.
All right, Diplex does get that first.
Oh, TasteLess.
Dead. Great kick into Q from Skeanz. I'm not sure how TasteLess ended up in that position. Hopefully get a bit of a replay of that bottom side play to see how it actually started. But on the top side, Red Star, they do get away with that Herald. They lose 1 member. I think they can consider that a pretty good trade given the circumstances. What exactly happens down here? TasteLess looking onto Jeskla. Knows he's alone because Vitality.Bee are showing their support on the top side, but Skeanz is here. The initial Q misses. Flash into E, slow down. TasteLess. Nowhere else to go, having already flashed. Ward hop into the kick to secure that kill. Nicely done from Skeanz to make that one as clean as possible.
2 kills to the good for Vitality.Bee, and that's before first item, so things already looking mighty fine for the LFL representatives. Of course, even if things are secured and they do manage to find their way into playoffs after a victory here, they're playing for ceiling. They want to get first place because while BDS Academy yesterday notably weren't able to secure a place in the quarterfinals, we've already seen LDLC and Carmen Corp both grab a first place finish in their groups. And for Vitality.Bee, they're going to want to continue the trend of LFL dominance so far this tournament.
Yeah, no, absolutely they will want to do that. And I mean, even when you talk about teams you kind of want to avoid, right? I feel like you don't really want to queue into Carmine or LDLC, especially LDLC, look a little more threatening in particular. That first seed, I think, is a lot more valuable this split, more so than usual. Are you saying
you want to queue into X7?
I'm not saying I would want to queue into X7.
Or Unicorns of Love? But I don't want to see them in my solo queue games.
What I am saying is the other LFL teams look as threatening as Vitality.Bee do.
Oh, so, absolutely, yeah, 100%. And I would be very happy if I was a French fan. Of course, they're your best mates now. They're on socials. I've been enjoying your interactions with them, having a great time
Szygenda.
joking around. Skeanda's having a great time diving and killing Wondro under tower. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, even through the Bramble, healing isn't reduced enough. That's a double knockup, but Jactroll could be in trouble here.
Oh, diving on through. The support from both sides. Colamax is going to be turned on as Skeanz moves forward. Diplex going to follow through with the flash as well. So much damage onto Udyr, and the kick secures the kill. That's the reset that Diplex needs. Going to throw it forward and grab another. Still has the ultimate. He wants to throw it towards Golden Toast, but there is support coming in from Tsiperakos in the mid lane. So Vex is just going to hold on to that one. Another excellent fight from Vitality.Bee. Throws it towards Golden Toast, but is it going to follow up?
No, shouldn't follow up on that one. Has the cleanse, unless that's what he was aiming to burn. Tsiperakos will get Skeanz to pull the dragon out a little bit further, but that will be the second dragon of the game. And the first for Vitality.Bee going their favor. And I mean, things not looking too bright all of a sudden for a Red Star. Gold lead just ballooned 4k. Snap of a finger. I mean, what are they trying to do? Red Star trying to interrupt Jactroll in this tri-bush. The rocket goes wide on top of the bear step after this. Knockout from Jactroll as well. Flashed away from actually, and then Skeanz and co just make it back in time. I mean, the rocket would have brought him pretty low and close to lethal, but I just don't think it would have been enough anyway. Shadow Surge from downtown, secured by Skeanz, and then you can see TasteLess just out of position trying to retreat back to his tower. Golden Toast, fortunately, not in range of the Vitality.Bee lineup to continue for more on their end, and the French side really dominated the last 2 minutes of play.
Team from the EBL were able to secure themselves the Rift Herald, though. We saw it in that last fight and managed to get the charge mid, which does mean that they'll be able to get a little bit of gold into the hands of Tsiperakos on the Orianna, who has yet to be super involved in play, but when you're up against the Vex, the roams tend to be a little bit easier post-6, where you can use that ultimate reset in team fights and make things very unpleasant for the opposing roster, because the thing about Vex is, outside of our ultimate, the maneuverability, the mobility isn't really there, but when you can go into a team fight, fit everyone around you, put in so much damage, it really doesn't matter. And Diplex, we said, already had a good performance on this one earlier in the group stages, having a strong start to this one. Skeanz on the side, looking towards this Aatrox. The ultimate coming down from Nautilus may help secure the kill. There's the ultimate first one for Diplex. Throws the second one wide. Can't find TasteLess or Colamax on the retreat. But Vitality.Bee will be happy with the pick.
Yeah, I think Diplex threw that one a little bit backwards, expecting that dredge line to hit. Now just playing in a little more predictive manner with that skill shot out. Could have probably gone for more, but Tsiperakos, victim of the skirmish going on in the jungle, gets collapsed on by Skeanz on the opposite side of the map. And now Jeskla, play will even bleed down to the bottom side as the rotation from that mid lane play ends up coming down towards the bottom end. Just go pick up some more plates as the pressure leads into that side of the map, and already has the Eclipse. Actually, observers, if I could ask, what's the gold looking like? Because we're already seeing mythics come in. Otherwise, Vitality.Bee might have to hold the point because Tsiperakos.
Yeah, Skeanz gets the kick, follows up on Tsiperakos, can flash over the wall actually. George get out the damage from Diplex as well will be useful. But as you said, gold on your screens. Decent leads pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, decent leads basically top to bottom. Top side, Szygenda, I mean, it's basically entirely by himself. I don't really think he's had too much outside help. Got a little bit of a lead from that Herald play earlier on in the game, but that was about it. And everywhere else, leads mounting. Diplex 2k up. Bottom side, Golden Toast finds himself 1,000 down. Red Star just bleeding gold and resources across the map, unfortunately. I think, again, if you want to ask how they really come back into the game from this big of a deficit, they kind of just have to sit there, turtle the best they can, look for slight overextensions, like what we just saw almost from Szygenda, but having Skeanz in the wings, how much of an overstay is it really? Golden Toast gets bullied on a little bit, but not too much. And they're kind of waiting at the whim of Vitality.Bee, to be honest with you. Waiting for Vitality.Bee maybe to try and make a play, hope they get a little bit too overeager to make it happen, and then capitalize. But again, I just feel like damage isn't going to be there for them for so long. And it really is going to have to be a pretty massive blunder from Vitality.Bee to give them a true opportunity back in. But we'll see what happens. The objective bounties are online, so kicking over that Herald actually gave over a considerable amount of gold to the Red Star lineup. But again, how much of the bleeding is it going to stem when it's a 6k gold deficit?
And with, as you mentioned, the one item spikes being achieved by Vitality.Bee, puts them even further in the driving scene, and I don't like that.
It's not a good sign. A good omen for Red Star or Aatrox fan. Now, of course, we've got that news. If Vitality.Bee win this game, they lock not only playoffs for themselves, but also playoffs for a Go Rogue.
There's a Colamax in there.
It did look a bit weird. I was like, what are they?
I just saw like a pile of Vitality.Bee players, and then I just see this Udyr trying to like claw his way out. And it's like, no, Colamax.
I was like, why are they all aggressively hitting this chicken? Like, what for? What did it do? It's not a chicken, it's a phoenix, isn't it? Poor man. Colamax run down in his own jungle. Szygenda gonna be pretty close to picking up this tower. Should be able to do it. And that's just more gold going into their back pockets now. Almost 10k up. And this just looks so rough for Red Star. I would love to be the optimist and say maybe they can do this, maybe they can do that, but I just can't feasibly say away where I see them coming in without it just being Vitality.Bee making a misstep. And nice from Skeanz to, of course, get the insect back in. And the kill even gets donated over to Jeskla. I mean, right now, Vitality.Bee can just keep on doing what they're doing, right? Just pressure the map. Second items starting to come for the carries already. Diplex has his Onyas. Jeskla has that Manamune completed, but very far away from Muramana completion. And they can just look to force the issue, I feel, anywhere they want to. I think Red Star doing the right thing, just trying to group up with this Herald. But the issue is, this isn't going into the Jinx. This is, you know, basically just the Sion. The tower might drop on that much HP. Yeah, it's a little bit short. Wondro will do it. Again, objective bounties give them a lot of gold back, but again, how much is a drop of water in an ocean, really? That is the size of this gold deficit.
I am worried. Bad news for Zvezda is it is a Hex Soul as well, so one of the stronger ones to be fighting against. The good news for Zvezda is it's a Hex Soul. And if you manage to survive another 15 minutes to grab that one for yourselves and you can contest those dragons, something has gone very right.
But just how? You know, how I think Vitality.Bee would have to
Jamada, I'm an ideas man. You know this about me.
Yeah,
I don't think about the how. I'm just going to say it could happen.
You know, actually, I recall, funnily enough, I said something very similar, and I think I was casting Vitality in the LEC. I can't remember if it was XL. I think they're playing into. I can't remember what team it was exactly, but they were down something similar to this at this time, and I just said, I'm not a miracle worker, and that's exactly how I feel about any question I get asked about how Red Star come back in. But we'll see. We've seen weirder things happen at this tournament already.
We have. We've seen base races where there's no right to be. We saw Eintracht Spandau's Baron shot calling last game.
So I said we don't talk about the Baron incident, Will.
Sorry. I thought that was Bruno, but I guess there's a long list of things that we're not allowed to talk about.
No.
The other dragon.
No, the other dragon, yeah.
There's going to be very few words I'm allowed to say anymore, but we're going to see another team fight coming on through as Wondro takes a beating, but it's going to get angry, going to dive back forward, looking for Jeskla. Can't find the knockup though, as Varus is looking to get the damage down. A lot is being followed through. Colamax on the other side of the fight, the wrong side of the fight, you could say, as Wondro is beating on the back of Jactroll's head, will be able to secure the kill. In the other side, Diplex goes low, will fall down, but Szygenda's running riot. Picks up another, looks towards TasteLess, is going to try and dance away. This time around, Karma survives a second longer before Skeanz looks for the kill. Can't find the dive and backs off. But Jeskla, untouched in that fight, is going to be able to break down maybe the inhibitor tower.
Yeah, could do. 20 seconds on death timer is pretty short. Of course, we're not even 20 minutes into the game. We're just about to go over that mark. And honestly, the fight didn't look as bad at the very start, but then Skeanz gets the kick. And from there, it just feels a little bit bad. And these are the kind of potential overextensions you're kind of talking about from Vitality.Bee, right? They almost bite off more than they can chew, but they're all pretty full HP. So even in saying that, they look pretty safe in that play. Flash kick brings Colamax into the rest of the team. But then that shockwave is pretty good. Diplex in a bit of a no man's land situation, but the issue is Szygenda's coming up from the flank. And then, I mean, well then the resets into well then the resets. And like we said, Jeskla also remained pretty much untouched and tasteless. Minions doing get down behind me, Mr. President work. Otherwise, I feel like Skeanz probably would have hit that Sonic Wave. That could have been a clean ace before 20 minutes.
It's difficult for Crvena Zvezda to keep their eyes on the prize in this one. You've got to imagine actually they're going to go for an engage. They're pulling trigger onto Jactroll. Jeskla forced to flash away, look for the damage. Will miss out the Chains of Corruption, which means Nautilus may well be the victim. Will actually be able to dive away for a second longer. Colamax is diving forward, though, finds his way onto Jeskla with the follow-up. Aatrox getting damage. That's shut down for the Orianna. Gondor's on the other side. Is running away from Skeanz, though. Szygenda starts ripping through the team fight. Diplex flashing away, but will look to turn around as Aatrox gives the advantage back to Vitality.Bee. Skeanz is on the warpath. Szygenda more so as he dives out of the world end and gets so much damage down. Sion weathers the storm for a couple of seconds longer before going into passive, and there's no real contest there. Again, a fight that might look better for Red Star than we'd expect, but still doesn't look great.
Yeah, I mean, some of the damage definitely coming. I think the reason why Jeskla got one shot was just an Orianna combo straight 800 to 0. So you can see it's getting there, right? You're on the way to that second item. But again, you can just compare and contrast, right? 2 items across the board finished up for Vitality.Bee. The mountain to climb is just too steep for now. But again, if they can force those kind of fights, maybe even numbers advantages, if they come their way, then maybe there's a way in. But again, just looking at Vitality.Bee,
Colamax,
complete
that's not
domination.
your jungle anymore. Skeanz is asserting his dominance, missing out on the Q, but Szenda's here to make sure that Udyr will go down. Skeanz actually securing a kill for himself. Domination from the Vitality.Bee jungler. Domination from the whole Vitality.Bee roster as they take down another.
Yeah, they take down another, and that's the jungler, so I wonder if they're just going to beeline straight to the Baron. Skeanz is being cut off by the Karma, but I think they will make their way up towards this objective. Still 15 seconds left on the Udyr. And a bit half-hearted in the start from Vitality.Bee. Maybe just waiting for Skeanz to get here.
Yes, just like, I
guess I'll
pull
start it
the
up.
trigger.
Yeah.
And then realizes, oh, I'm actually half health and our jungler isn't here yet. Has to have some fruit, but looks like Crvena Zvezda have predicted the call, and rather than contesting, are going to look towards the dragon instead.
So,
the ultimate coming through from Jinx. It's nowhere near.
It's nowhere near.
Unfortunately, with no vision. But a man could dream of the Miracle Steal, but it looks like Vitality.Bee are just going to be able to secure this one for themselves. Dragon traded to Crvena Zvezda on the bot side, their first Hex Tech 1 of the game. And can look to maybe put in some pressure down on the bot side. Remember, objective bounties are available. There's still a lot of standing gold on the map. I know it's slim hope for Crvena Zvezda this time around, but worth picking up nonetheless.
Slim is definitely very accurate. But I mean, hey, now they're not looking down the barrel of a soul in 5 minutes time. It's the finer details in life, in games like these. But Baron buff is picked up for Vitality.Bee, and you expect they will, at the very least, take a inhibitor, if not a lot more. And
Wondro,
Red Star,
that's a brave engage. A lot of damage coming down, though, as it's all onto Wondro. He'll be deleted. Has the pass, remember. Colamax driving on through. Wondro's trying to get some damage on the Jactroll. Won't be able to get the kill, though, as Diplex gets the first ult, but the reset, looking for another. Can't find Golden Toast as he dances away. Szygenda in the back line has to go Golden as the tower will reset. Looking for the damage. Ultimate from Jinx scratches, but does not burn, as Vitality.Bee should be able to crack open the base.
yeah, they should be able to crack open the base. Indeed. Inhibitor number 1, or tower number 1 will fall. They're actually going to call it there. Health bars a little bit too low to feel comfortable moving forward. Honestly, Red Star can feel happy with that, all things considered. If they can hold on and maybe make some kind of flip play at the next Baron, assuming we get there, it could be pretty good. 90 seconds still left on the Baron. Szygenda teleports back out onto the map as well to cheat some of the tempo. Get a look at this team fight, and I think Red Star honestly just have a right read on the room in terms of, I mean, realistically, if we just sit here and let them siege, we'll probably lose the game outright, so just go for a fight any way we can take it. Wondro is just not tanky though. Colamax steps up when you're really able to get a bear slap going, and the Szygenda on the flank comes in, does an absolute decimation work. But look at the backline, honestly. Shockwave onto 2 frontliners, right? It was onto Skeanz and onto Nautilus. Half health them. It's not bad damage, but it just has to be followed up on. That's the issue. There's 2 items there in for Golden Toast as well. I mean, like, you know, if we're looking at, per se, a 5,000 gold lead instead of over 15,000, I think Red Star have a bit of a chance of sticking it to this one, but let's see what they go for. Diplex in the back line.
Diplex, that's disgusting as he picks up one. Szygenda cleans up the low health bars as Vitality.Bee run down Crvena Zvezda. The Red Star extinguished in yet another fight, with Baron still running for a few seconds more. The base should be broken. They might be able to get more, and with that, Vitality.Bee, not only do they qualify for the quarterfinals, but they give the Ultra Leaguer a solid and help Ego Rogue do the same.
Yes, they do. They'll look for TasteLess on the fountain. But with this win, we'll keep their spot in the quarters safe. And now it's all up to Go Rogue, really, to pick up their next win against Red Star for Vitality.Bee after the break on this game, to take down Einstrack, Spandau, and then those two will meet in the final game of the day and battle it out for that first place seeding. What a dominating game from Vitality.Bee. I think the expectations definitely met on that one. Red Star, unfortunately, with that loss, of course, can no longer qualify into the quarters. And of course, with that loss, Eintracht Spandau lose out on the opportunity to progress further for the Prime League. I mean, France just looks scary. I don't know what else to say. It was a very hard game for Red Star to play out. They had a draft which was designed to basically play the game from 2 items onwards. Vitality.Bee had a draft that was designed to play from 1 item onwards, and they were able to snowball the lead monstrously high.
It was domination from Vitality.Bee. We've seen it so much for them in the group stages, and it's great to see where, well, it's great to see for an extent that a team that played so well in the first week can come back and look to be on form today. However, we said similar things about X7 when they took down Gamer Legion in their group, and then look what happened. They kind of fell apart a little bit, managed to pick up wins against Team Phantasma, but weren't able to take down K-Corp. Ego Rogue have a lot of work to do if they want to secure themselves a first place in this group up against the LFL side. It's all action, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, fortunately as well, what we did hear from Lucker, well, I say fortunately, but it sort of sets up the heights of the expectations for us. Lucker said, we feel like we played ourselves in that Vitality.Bee game. We had the opportunity to win that game, and we're the ones that messed up. We're the ones that made the blunders. We feel like Vitality.Bee didn't necessarily play that one out as cleanly as perhaps you would expect them to. So then it sets up for that very hype, assuming, you know, of course, a Go Rogue take down Red Star, that they can have a battle for the first seed at the very end of the day.
Well, it's a battle to set up a tiebreaker, but of course, other matches do matter for seeding, including the one we're going to have for you after the break. Vitality.Bee will be back on your screens as they take on Eintracht Spandau. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.